Hello, my name is Greg, and welcome to This Flippin' Furniture. On this video, we're going to take this piece of furniture, turn it into this, and we decide that that looks horrible, and then we turn it into this. And that wasn't the only problems I had. Of the several days it took me to film this, it was pouring down rain to a point when I listened to the video back, you could not even make out the words that I was saying as the rain was coming down. I'm going to get it. And it didn't end there. If you watched my previous video, this flip went sideways. You might remember that I busted my camera. So throughout this furniture flip, I had to beg, borrow, possibly even steal some recording equipment from my wife and children. And I tell you all of that because there are times throughout this video where the video and audio quality is not as good as some of my previous videos. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get this flip started. I think what I have planned might work. I'm going to take over my job since you got my hat on. All right, I got work to do. Can't sit around all day like you. So that means every spot on here has to be covered in glue, otherwise it'll fall apart. These do take a lot of glue, and it tends to create quite a mess, but that's what has to be done. It's also why I leave a little edge right there. Take your clamp, squeeze that, grab another clamp, now we'll be good to go. I always make sure there's plenty on those edges that could potentially get rubbed. You see that? Like that was hollow. I really like how this is turned out. I love the pattern, I love the diamond shape, though I'm not happy with the quality of the work. When you get up close, and I know exactly what I did wrong, and I can fix it. Though I don't like doing it from time to time, we just have to say, this work is not good enough to sell. And that's the conclusion that I have come to on this piece. So I am going to get rid of all of that and start over. Not any thicker, but in the glue up, I need them to be a more consistent thickness. And it's a nice flat surface. So you just rub it along there until it's all squared up. Essentially, this is an end grain cutting board with plywood. And I've incorporated that design on end grain cutting board styles on different pieces of furniture over the years. Some of them look nice, and some of them you finish and you think, what in the world was I thinking? I wanted to get a little bit of higher sheen with the Oldies oil. So I broke out the buffer, and I'm just going to buff a little bit of this in. Put the bench in, and then I can get some measurements for the back and figure out what I'm going to do with that. Then get a bottom put in. That's pretty soft because it's only 1/4 inch plywood. It was never intended to hold much. So I want to get this bench put in, get the bracing put up for the bench, and then we'll figure out some other things. I made these just a little bit wider, a tight fit. We're just adding these dowel plugs. And these will slide in. Alright, so I kind of figured out what we're going to do here. Going to get this glued down. Clamping these smaller parts are always a bit of a challenge, but we'll get it. Thank you. Not to get rid of this out on this particular glue up. That looks pretty good. Wax. I always wear a glove so I don't smell like the paste wax. This is about the 3rd table that I've had, and it's been my favorite. I like the size of it. I like the vise right there. And that T-track is the first table I've had with where I put that T-track in there. And as this is going here, probably going to put on 3 coats, only because I'm guessing shoes, boots will go down on here. I'm going to do a lot of coats there to make it durable. I put that on there. I'm not certain how much I like that look. With that gap right there, it's still, I think, just kind of looks cheesy. The sides I'm not as concerned about, but if I'm gonna cut this right here flush, I believe I need to cut this flush. If you use this as a bench, I'd rather have this open with the divider, with the only real purpose for the divider is to offer some additional supports for that seat. I don't have really any concerns about the bench. I would have more concerns about this 1/4 inch plywood. So I have this piece of walnut, 4 pieces out of that. That's 16 inches. And we don't have to have precise measurements because we have some wiggle room from back to front here and no one will really see that. This is exactly 10 inches. So this way, I'm gonna mark this 10 inches. I'm gonna make my cut about 10 1/16, and that'll give me some sanding room. And we have 38.5 here. So that'll be 19.25 will be our halfway. I tried painting out there, it's just been too hot. With these kind of precision, somewhat precision cuts, meaning we have 4 angles on each one. They're all 45s, but when the distance matters, I've changed the way that I do these type things over the years. Sometimes I just feel like there's a better cut for certain situations than others. One thing, I never mind making extra cuts. So on something like this, I will cut the front or the top and the bottom, the front and the back or whatever, and then put 45s on one end. I've got it cut long, so that side's flush, and then this one here, there's plenty of room to sand it down, recut it. I cut it about a 1/16 long, maybe a little more on either side. So I always line up the inside corners, and the rest of that can be sanded down on the outside. I always use a marking knife on these. Sometimes the width of a pencil will mess you up. If you've tried doing these before, you're probably like me, messed up so many of them you don't even care to count. If I had a pencil, I would use a pencil for this, but I don't. But then I take this and then out of the way of, what we know will be cut off, I'll just put the angle. And then I know I need to go from here back down this way, so I just take this. So then once you get to this point, you kind of start dry fitting everything. And then I want to knock that back one off when I'm doing it. So I have to climb back there and get it. That's always fun. Just a little bit long all the way around, but a good start. What I'll do now is I'll take and I'll round the inside of each one of these over with 220 grit sandpaper. What that does is just give that bottom edge room to sit in there a little bit further, and then only the top part of that at the seam will be touching. Just about the right amount of glue. And I could possibly be in trouble for showing this hack. So if you are still watching it, please keep this just between us, and you need some type of hammer. In this case, I have this wooden mallet. And you want to take your hammer, whatever you choose, look around, make sure no one is watching. Wipe off your furniture. The quickest way to get a furniture flip done when you are in a hurry. Thanks for watching, and just keep this between us.